2.0. We're gonna start with dumbbell lateral raises. I haven't started with lateral raises in a while, so we'll probably work up the rack, try to hit like 15 reps each set, and just keep working up and up and up in weight. Not gonna go too fast, because I wanna make sure that I get my shoulders all ready and primed to go. It's pretty crazy in this gym how many athletes there are and how many competitors there are. They just finished the Canadian Nationals and stuff, so it's a good environment to go into, get focused. And it's cool because I see like on the Instagram, YouTube, all that different stuff with the pros right now going into the Arnold, which is happening tomorrow, and then the Olympia is obviously in a few weeks. So by the time this video comes out, you'll know the results of the Arnold, and you guys can leave your predictions in the comments down below for the Olympias. But there's been some bodybuilders with Breon, Ian, Chris, like Chris Mum said, all of them are giving insight to their training and stuff, their diet, their nutrition, their preps, and it's cool to get an insider's look at that sort of thing, and then you can see for yourself what it's like as a bodybuilder. So it's just a little bit of inspiration and motivation for me to go in and train harder, you know? This I can pretty much work straight up, just continue to progress up, and then when I feel like my sets are starting to get a little bit more difficult and I'm not able to hit 12 to 15 with relative ease, then I'll start taking my rest periods. But right now I'm just trying to get as much blood as possible. I'm gonna keep my elbows more in front like this and keep it on my side delt. A lot of people try to keep back retracted like this and it ends up just going on their rear delt. A better position to be in is actually keeping the dumbbells almost at a 45-degree in front, and you're gonna get more activation in your side delt. A lot of people overemphasize this movement too by internally rotating your shoulders. It's not necessarily putting your delt or your rotator cuff in a good position to actually contract. You're essentially just jamming your rotator cuff. The more and more you go internally rotated, so you can keep your hand in a neutral position and raise from there, you're gonna get more delt activation rather than just putting it on your rotator cuff. So I'm gonna try to hit 15 reps, 4 sets. Does he know it's a new hat? Hat is forcing me to keep this guard in the front. Doesn't want me to sweat and fuck up his hat. Yeah, I took one rest day and it feels like your skin like shrink wraps. Turns into dick skin. I'm gonna drop down to 35 and try to get a bit more reps. I did one top set and then I'm gonna back off just for one set. I'm not necessarily holding at the top of the movement because your shoulder's a floating joint, so you don't want to hold at the top of the movement for too long. Instead, I'm focusing on exploding from the bottom of the movement and getting that maximum contraction through the concentric portion of the movement rather than doing like an isometric hold. So we're gonna Smith machine press. I don't do this movement too much. We're gonna do it with a pause. We actually learned this one from Chris Cormier a while back, a long time ago. I remember a video back at Gold's Gym, but it's really good because he had that explosive movement right from the bottom. You get a nice squeeze on it. So we set up the bench here. It's not directly straight up. It's slightly leaned back so that it's not quite as hard on my shoulder and my bicep tendon in general, because I do have some bicep issues. So we're gonna try to hit 12 to 15 reps on this. It's a different type of exertion when you go higher volume. Going heavy and doing less reps is a lot of times a lot easier mentally. So having myself push past those limits is really good for my training, I think. So we're probably gonna throw a plate on, start there. Each rep I'm really focused on pausing at the bottom and just driving up. cable front raises next. I'm gonna use this, I'm gonna use the rope. I find this a really good movement because it keeps tension on your front delt without going on your bicep a lot. And since it is a cable, it is a little bit more stable and there's a little bit less risk of injury. So since I did deal with like bicep injuries and stuff like that before and shoulder issues, any sort of issues with this bicep tendon in here, this pretty much mitigates that. So we're gonna do like 15 reps, 12 to 15 reps. It's only our third exercise, but we're working with a decent amount of volume each exercise. So one of my favorite exercises, and pretty much every gym has a cable. So. The whole goal that I'm gonna try to do is keep constant tension on my front delt. The issue with the dumbbell generally is that because the way gravity is, you're only getting tension at the top portion of the movement on your front delt. When you're down here, there's literally no tension. So with the cable, what I can do is set myself forward so that I'm in a position where the cable's tension is going directly in path with where I'm driving to. So from here, there's still tension. Versus with the dumbbell, if I'm here, there's no tension on my delt. It's just going straight down. So I'm gonna lean slightly forward more, push my hips back so I get a good stretch on my front delt. And then as I drive up, breathe all my air out. Think about pushing through my thumbs and coming to about eye level. I'm gonna do a few drop sets on this. 2 drop sets, 3 working sets total, just to get my intensity up a little bit. I've been moving a little bit slower through my other movements, so if I can find a way to pick my intensity up, it's good. One of the main things I found helps with this movement in particular with keeping tension is making sure that I keep my chest up and my chin up. So even if the angle of my body is leaned forward to, let's say, 45 degrees to keep that tension on my front delt, I'm still maintaining an upright position so that my core is tight and I'm not hunched over like this. You should be in an upright position. You can bend your knees slightly to get a little bit more range if you find that the rope's hitting your legs. And then as I come up, I don't want to be like this. What I want to do is breathe my air out, keep my chin up, and maintain that upright position just to make sure that doesn't go on my traps. There's a movement where your traps easily take over, and you've probably seen that in some of my reps. As I get in my later reps, it's hard to keep that focus on it. So we got a superset to finish up here. My clavicle is not super wide in general, so I'm wanting to build that width, or the illusion of that width. Basically what I'm doing to do that is focusing a lot on my side delt and my rear delt as well, because even from the side shots, when you stick your arm out like this, you still see your rear delt popping from the other side. So we're gonna do a superset here to finish up. We got the lateral raise hammer strength machine, and then we have just some 20-pound dumbbells, really simple, really light, really easy. And we're gonna try to get 12 to 15 reps on this, 12 to 15 reps on the dumbbell rear delt flies. So one thing that's a little bit different with the way I'm gonna do these rear delt flies and the way that I've shifted to doing them is that instead of keeping myself in a super internally rotated position and trying to raise upwards and outwards, what I'm gonna do is almost similar to our row, where I'm focusing on wrapping my elbows around my body while staying in a protracted position. So the further I'm able to drive my elbows back without shrugging up or letting my upper back take over, the more rear delt I'm actually gonna hit. So if I bend over here and I stay protracted, so I'm coming from a retracted position to a protracted position, and if I'm able to maintain this and wrap my elbows around my body, that's the best thing I can do. Nothing to do necessarily with internally rotating, keeping it up high up here or anything like that. You're putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on your rotator cuff and your shoulder joint. So what instead I'm gonna do is just focus on driving my elbows back as far as possible and really squeezing my rear delts.
Calm down, nah, here I go. I've been shooting up the screen like I'm setting picking rows. Ain't see me listed with the freshest. It's cool, they didn't know. Leave a seed outside, man, it's guaranteed to grow. I'm about to blow. Doc, hold on, wait a minute, now I'm strapped in. I done seen the light, so grab a camera for the action. Learn to play the hand, I was dealt in my advantage when the cards in my hand. Every move is a gambit, understanding what's a king. He can't recognize his queen.
So again, with this lateral raise machine, it's kind of similar to using a cable for the front raises. I'm able to squeeze my delt at the top of the movement without risking my shoulder joint. It's a little bit different than the dumbbell raise, where you have to be a little bit more cautious. I'm staying in a position where my elbows are still slightly in front of me, and I'm keeping that almost Y raise position rather than driving back like this, where my traps are gonna get more engaged, my upper back, my rear delts. in areas that I don't want. So just stay in a neutral position with my hands neutral, chest upright, and then as I drive, I'm breathing my air out from the bottom of the movement. So start here. Another thing that a lot of people don't talk about is driving your feet into the ground to keep yourself a steady base. With pretty much all the movements I do, you want to start from the ground up. You want to start by making sure you're planted, not wobbling all around and focusing on stabilizing your core. That way, when you're breathing and when you're bracing and when you're exploding from the bottom of the movement, you don't have that initial jolt. It's just a straight drive. All right, guys, so we finished up the shoulders workout. Pretty simple, pretty basic. Explained some of the techniques for you guys. Hopefully you're able to apply some of them, especially with the different movements that we did. Switched it up a little bit by doing some of the machines, did a Smith machine press, and started with dumbbell lateral raises, which I haven't done in a little while. As far as my periodization goes, I'm 3 weeks into my program as far as my training goes, which puts me in a hypertrophy phase. And then after that, I'll be going into a strength phase and then back to like a maximum output phase. So I'll leave a link to the program that I'm running right now in the description. I talked about it previously before, but it feels good to have a little bit of a schedule and be on track, because I did feel like I was starting to get in that overloaded phase, overworked, overtrained kind of deal. So I want to make sure that I am periodizing out my training and making sure that I'm taking rest days that I need to. So hopefully I'll be able to tighten up a little bit more with my scheduling and get on track to keep progressing forward. So thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.